everybody, and welcome to this surprise episode of A Theater Near You. The group of us went to go see the new Fast and Furious movie. We've all been watching Fast and Furious movies lately, so we decided to do a little round table. However, it was around a single microphone, so the sound quality is, well, it's a little less than usual. It's not going to sound quite as good as my voice sounds right now, and also it's definitely a little bit more... Well, it's a little bit less structured because, well, it was a little late and we had just gotten out of that absolutely ridiculous movie. But anyway, that's what you're about to hear. Just kind of minimal editing just so I can pump this out as quick as humanly possible. Please enjoy our rantings and ravings on the Fast and Furious series, which is, well, it's completely insane. Enjoy. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to A Theater Near You. I am your host, Kris Randazzo, and joining me tonight is Helicopter on a String, Paul Giroux.
That's what I'm here for, family.
And able to lift a car with one hand, Sean Doyle.
You forgot to take my car.
So we just got out of the theater watching Fast X, as we've Paul has convinced me to watch all the movies 15 minutes at a time. I did that. Now I'm all caught up. I'm here with Sean. We have special guest Greg in the background. Sean and Greg have now decided they're going to start watching the movies in reverse order. So I can't wait to see how that pans out. But yes, we've all seen Fast X. It was Fast and Furious.
This is a huge milestone for us. We went to this movie, we raced home as fast as we could, and now we are doing our first podcast in front of a live studio audience.
Hooray! Greg and my dog Naga.
Mm-hmm. That's not true. Greg was here when we did the Rocky thing.
That's true, but he was like a milestone. But he was in on the podcast then. We announced him as like a special guest. Yeah. He was here. This time, he's just watching.
He's refused to participate.
He just wants to watch. I don't know why I said that like Vin Diesel. I'm sorry.
Didn't come out like Vin Diesel. Came out way worse.
All right. So, I don't have all the information about Fast X.
How do we even begin to unpack this?
Fast and Furious was released on June 1st, 2024. It's... starring Vin Diesel, Michael Keaton, and Tammy Lee Baker. I don't know. Its runtime is 4 hours and 17 minutes, and it was produced by a monkey wearing a coconut for a hat.
Excellent. We all stopped at Cheeto Burrito on the way there, which is my favorite burrito place. We all ate delicious food, and then we went to watch this movie. We showed up at the theater as the movie started. It was amazing timing. We thought we were going to get there and have to sit through like a half an hour of trailers, but no. And we weren't even that late. We were only a couple minutes late.
Yeah, they started on time there, apparently, with the nice cozy seats that reclined really far, farther than I thought they were going to. And then they start coming up right at the end. It's like it tilts back. That it does this weird thing which starts lifting up your ass a little bit.
Yeah, they're comfy seats.
This was the greatest movie-going experience for me of all time.
That is a bold statement,
I got to see it with you guys. We skipped all the previews. Those recliners were far superior to any other recliners. And this movie is the greatest movie ever made.
Wait, before we get to the movie, real quick, I'm just going to throw this out there. As we walked in, we saw the last preview, which was for Jaws.
A movie we watched on this very podcast.
Right. But it just seemed like the old preview for Jaws. Like, the date that came up wasn't like a future date, like they're re-releasing it. Maybe they are. But it just felt like it was the preview for Jaws that was
aired. I'm curious,
like,
this
75.
is...
Do you think they just show classic trailers? Like
that would kind of be cool.
Yeah, well, this is a relatively independent theater. It's like, I think it's part of a very small chain that's local. I wonder if they just do that. They just show... classic trailers sometimes.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
it's cool to do.
It's a really cool theater. It's where I went to go see Super Mario Brothers with my kids, which was also just a really magical, wonderful movie going experience. There's people who work there, like you go there and you talk to people and you show them things, and they're usually pretty nice about it.
They don't like it when I show them my thing.
That's what they tell you up front. But they're taking pictures and they're taking them home.
All right. All right, we can talk about the movie now, Paul. Do you want to? I mean, there's so much to say about so many. Oh, spoilers! I'm going to talk about the muffins, so be prepared.
Oh, we're going to spoil every part of this movie. So
yeah, there were some surprises,
and we're going to spoil like 10 other movies that you may or may not have seen. So yeah, spoilers abound. Specifically, the end credits, just before the end credits and the mid-credit sequence.
Was there a post-credits
Oh, I didn't stay before, but typically with these movies, there's not a post-credit. There's a mid-credit.
Well, typically with these movies, there's anything could happen.
Anything could happen.
I gotta look it up, see if there was a post-credit scene.
There could have been a post-credit movie.
It could have been the part 2 of this movie.
It could be playing right now.
You just hung out. They'd play right through. All right, while he's looking that up, I'll say this about the muffins, because I feel like this is a short, contained conversation. That guy was pretty down to just eat the muffins even after he knew they had drugs in them, without knowing what drugs they are. Now, I don't know what this character was established to be in the future, but the guy was not subtle about saying, those muffins are full of drugs. And he was just like, they're on a mission, it's dangerous, and yeah, I'm going to start eating this muffin. Now, once he started hallucinating, he stopped, sure. But it seems like you're past the threshold then, right? I mean, you're just...
Now, Pete Davidson, who called them fun muffins, he was this was his first time appearing in a Fast and Furious movie. He is not a previously established character, but I guess because the guy is a pothead in real life, that we were to get he's selling hallucinogenic muffins, which he calls fun muffins. The guy that ate the muffins, Han, that guy's character in all the other movies always has food in his hand. Every single movie, he's got a bag of chips in his hand, he's got something in his hand that he's eating. Okay. And, in the 5th movie, they even say, Gal Gadot sizes him up, and she's like, you're a former smoker. You always got to have something in your hand, you're always eating something. So, he's always eating something. It even materialized in the scene with Statham, where he pulls the chips snacks out of his pocket, and, Statham thinks he has a gun, and... action ensues.
Right, sure.
But yeah, it's weird that we're breaking out with the muffins first, but I guess you got to start somewhere. That whole scene was a little weird to me. That whole scene in that place with the muffins and with Roman throwing up that powder that I didn't understand what that was, and it never got referenced again. That whole scene was a little strange to me.
Completely unnecessary. You could have cut that scene out of the movie, and nothing would be different.
Nothing would be any different.
You don't need a one-sentence reshoot if you just cut that scene.
So, I'm reading this Polygon article, and it says that no, there was no post-credits. After the mid-credit scene. Let's see. What they said here makes me laugh. It says that he shows up in the post-credits cameo. Makes it clear he's on the hook for Fast 11 or Fast X Part 2 or whatever the next movie of the series ultimately called. I'm hoping for Fast XX, so the rumored third part of the finale act can be Fast XXX, which will both cheekily link the Fast and Furious franchise to Vin Diesel's short-lived XXX movie series and seriously mess with the Google rankings of pornographers who thought they'd have a field day with Fast X. I don't know who wrote this, but they have my respect. Tasha Robinson. Well done, Tasha Robinson.
Credit where credit's due.
Indeed.
Game respects game.
Okay, so
they did say that too.
Charlize Theron throws. She shows up because Jason Momoa turned all of her dudes against her because he needed
the gods
goons. Right? He needed goons?
He seemed less worried about the goons. I think he just wanted... that he stole the God's Eye from her, right?
Yes.
I know he stole
the God's Eye from Brie Larson because God's Eye was safe.
Oh, right.
Oh, gambler.
Gambler.
Not tonight.
You're right. He got God's Eye from Brie Larson.
He stole something else, and then he also took all of her goons because he needed muscle.
He just took the two nerds and the computer stuff. He left the goons there to kill her.
Oh yeah, right.
He needed her.
He needed that computery thing. Doesn't matter.
He needed her resources. It wasn't really specified what. He needed her resources so that he could launch this global campaign against Dom and all of his people.
And her situation is pretty nebulous to begin with. But then she shows up at Dom's house, all bleeding and stuff. And how does she end up? What did Brie Larson do? She stabbed her to play along, and then she woke up in a lab in Antarctica.
No. I think
Yeah, what weren't you able to
Michelle
follow?
Rodriguez was arrested, but since she's such a high-value target, they brought her to a prison in Antarctica.
Right.
Which is where they brought the other one.
Charlize Theron, yeah.
Sure. They brought her there after Vin Diesel called the ambulance for her. Like, you know, didn't he want to kill her? I understand she had this whole story to tell, but when the story's done, it's not like she made herself a good guy. Like,
No.
I stopped him from killing the Earth.
Hang on, he didn't call the ambulance for her. He called the agency.
Came with an ambulance. It saved her life.
An agency ambulance. An agulance.
Yeah, to take her to like a black site prison, and she
Healed her.
She also said, yeah, but she said she has a line about it. She says something like, "They want you
healthy before they hurt you," or whatever. Yeah, I don't understand why I didn't kill her. We didn't really. I don't feel like they ever rounded that curve for me.
because
was
then
the
we
whole-
wouldn't have a movie."
Yeah,
So
she wasn't needed for the next part. Michelle Rodriguez could have done that on her own.
So what was
We
like...
wanted to see Michelle Rodriguez and Charlize Theron fight.
Right, they needed to get the two of them to beat each other up. But then, like... So the plan was for them... So Brie Larson stabbed her to get her into the medical bay so that she and Charlize Theron could break out together and go to the submarine and meet Zombie Wonder Woman.
Right.
That was the plan?
That was the plan.
Oh,
Michelle Rodriguez threw a monkey wrench in it by attacking Charlize Theron.
wait, let's...
Miss Marvel just thought they would work together.
You're concerned that the plan wasn't airtight? 'Cause
No, I'm just trying to wrap my head around what the plan was.
because I think there's a lot of things in this movie where you're like, anything that could have gone different, that plan wouldn't have...
Oh,
like,
100%.
Like, specifically Momoa's plan.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
Like, if his plan all along was to get Dom on that bridge with the two trucks, then, like, at any moment, he just could have been flattened like a pancake.
At
like,
any moment.
Like,
Yeah.
at any moment, he could have died along. And then Momoa would have just had to be like, that didn't work out.
Yeah, and you know what?
Hey, other guy, call off the bazooka launcher. He died.
He's dead. It's over. The craziest part, look, he was shocked when Dom came flying out of the sky in a car. Now, don't get me wrong, most people were. But the fact that he was like, "What is that?" and the plane flies overhead, and he goes, "Holy shit!" doesn't make sense for two big reasons. Number one reason, why would he not know about this? Because if he didn't know about this, how did he think he was going to get there? And two, more importantly, as we find out, spoiler, the guy flying the plane was on his team. He didn't give him a heads up. He didn't tell him what was going on.
That was another thing I was really watching this time around, because for anybody who's listening, I watched it on Wednesday, and then I watched it again today. So listen, here's my sort of experience, right? When I watched it on Wednesday, I spent half the movie not really liking it. Like, I'm not going to say I hated it, but, like, there was a lot of choices that got made where I was kind of like, I don't know if I like this. The whole scene with the muffins. I don't know if I like this. I wasn't sure if I bought into the fact that Charlize Theron escapes from Momoa and her first stop is Dom's house. I was like, I don't know if I buy this. Like she
Doesn't have family.
She, like, murdered his, like, the mother of his kid, like, right in front of him. Mm-hmm. And, like, that's, like, you know, I didn't know if I bought into that. What else? There was a couple other things. So when they introduce we keep being confused where we know this actor from, but I know him from Titans and from Reacher, the guy that was the head of the agency.
Yeah, his name is Alan Ritchson, and he played Aquaman on Smallville.
So it's the two
dual
Aquaman
Aquamans.
team up.
We should have seen it coming.
The Aqua team up.
He looked like a professional wrestler because he's a big, beefy dude. But as far as I can tell, he was not a pro wrestler.
So do you want me to call him Alan Richardson, or you want to call him Aquaman 1 or Aquaman 2? Aquaman
TV's
OG?
Aquaman.
TV Aquaman.
Son of TV's Aquaman.
So when they
I like Triple Agent because that makes sense in my head.
when they introduced Triple Agent Alan Richardson, I literally was like, ugh, he's the substitute for The Rock. I was like, he's the lawman who is going to be their adversary and then who's going to side with them later on. And I was like, you know, they're trying to recapture the magic of the Rock's involvement, and they're using this guy. And
you were no Rock, sir.
Yeah, I was mad for a good portion of the movie, and then when it all kind of paid off at the end, I was like, I think I love this because like they did. I think for me, they did exactly what they aimed to do. They wanted me to go, this guy's the substitute for The Rock. This guy is, this guy's going to help them out, whatever. And then when it's like, you're too trusting, Dom. Not everybody's on your side. Not everybody can be won over with a beer and a barbecue. And then, and those two guys go and stand next to each other, like in the flashback. I was like, oh yeah, I want to see the next movie. I want to see the next movie where the bad guy is this team of muscly guys, the team of Aquaman. I was like, I love it. And then the fact that spoiler, not that we haven't had a whole lot of spoilers, but that the Rock came back in the mid-credit sequence, and that it was like they made a Fast and Furious movie that was Avengers Infinity War.
Basically.
That's what this was. This was...
We got Hobbs and Shaw reunited.
This was Fast and Furious Avengers Infinity War. It ended with a cliffhanger where you're like, oh my god, is everybody dead? Then we had Gal Gadot come back right before the credits, and then in the...
That's like Miss Marvel arriving, whereas in this one we had Miss Marvel exiting.
Right.
Well, I thought like The Rock was the Miss Marvel.
Okay.
Which also felt like a big reveal. It felt like a big twist. It felt realized, like, yes, this was a character that we already knew. It wasn't a new character, but this was a guy who said he was never going to come back to this franchise. Like,
regardless of that, the fake out for me was that knowing that no main character can conceivably stay dead in these movies, I thought it was going to be John Cena under that mask. And then they start talking and saying, and then it's like, no, it's not The Rock. Oh shit, it's The Rock. But like, just seeing his build and under the mask, I thought it was John Cena. And I'm like, all right, start explaining. Because like, they blew up John Cena. But like, they did, it was almost exactly the same way that Han died in the third one. It was like, he's in a car and the car exploded.
Let's talk about that for a second. Because we already spoiled everything, so it doesn't matter. John Cena's car move, right? Here's my problem with it. Well, I mean, physics has a lot of problems with it. But my problem with it is he hits that button to turn the cannons downward to launch the car, right?
As you do.
As you do. And the car flips over and lands not on the tires, just on the top. So it's bad for the person inside, right? He designed this to do that. Like that was a button he hit. He knew what it was going to do.
Move.
It didn't rocket him up and then let him fall back on the tires. It didn't complete it. He didn't have the angle right to get the 180 or the 360. So like he designed a death trap car. Why would he do that? I mean, it came in handy.
My concern,
I don't know why he did.
Then perhaps he designed an ejector seat from the bottom.
Well,
I don't know.
Exactly. Then it all makes sense. Right. If the bottom blew out and we just didn't see it and he was in a metal cage and he rolled and he was like, got up and brushed himself off. Great. Love it. Now he's going to jump down with the kayak that he secretly snuck in just as a plane.
The kayak
But now he's got the kayak to save them in when the water comes.
My trouble with that scene, really more than anything, was that, like, he had the kid pull the lever. That kid's got bodies on his hand.
Oh, yeah.
He made that
I was
child murder people. That kid's got, like, 6 dead people on his hands.
But those guys were bad guys.
Remember when we watched Cloak and Dagger? We didn't do Cloak and Dagger.
We didn't Cloak and Dagger. I
did we?
think I voted for it.
We all watched it, but not
we all
for the
watched
podcast.
it. Remember, he gave the kid the gun. He was like, "Now shoot him." It's like, wait, this got dark. That kid's like 7.
Well, wait.
Pull the trigger.
I
Pull
wanna-
the trigger, Timmy.
I want to... I want to say something about the massive piles of body. Yeah, all right. He let that kid kill those guys, and the kid's got blood on his hands. I don't actually think that's the worst part. I think what's worse is the two Aquamen. What is it? Futurama. What's his name? Zap Brannigan, where he's like, I'll just throw wave after wave of my men at the problem. Like, I feel like that's essentially what those guys did. Like Momoa was like, hey, you, my buddy, you're going to be 10 steps ahead of him because you run the agency and you're going to put all the things in place so that, like, you put him where I want him and then he trusts you and then we turn on him. But in order to do that, we're going to kill lots of our own guys.
Lots of your guys from the agency, lots of my guys. We're just, if they both just brought less men to the battle. Like, the agency guy brought 100 agency troops, who then had to kill 100 goons. But, like, they all worked for you. Just bring 2.
That's what I was really watching this time around, because I knew the twist. Mm-hmm. So the big scene where I was like, wait a minute, does this check out? Was
well, now wait a second here. This doesn't add up.
Hang on a minute. Was on the bridge where Momoa's father,
right,
Reyes had died 10 years ago.
Because it's safe.
Where they had that, they have that shootout or whatever, and then Alan Ritchson throws Vin Diesel the gun, and he's like, I'm on your side now. I was like, now you got a situation where Momoa's guys are shooting at Alan Ritchson, who's on the same side as him, and where he's just given Vin Diesel a gun to shoot at his partner. I was like, there's a lot. They're
taking a lot on faith.
Yeah.
It's taking a lot on faith if this is going to work out.
And there was actually an interesting moment where he went to shoot Momoa, and the gun shut off, which was established in that scene early with Charlize Theron, where she can just turn all their guns off.
Right.
So I was like, oh, that's interesting. So it was like, I guess somebody was thinking about it, but like, not really.
Not too hard.
Not hard.
Another jumping all over the place. Another time this plan really came real close. That bomb in the beginning.
What was Dom's plan? I'm gonna hit it with my car?
I don't think
I'm going exactly. It was Rocket League. The whole time I'm thinking, what's he gonna do? He's gonna chase it with the car and then do what?
I don't think he knew until he saw that crane.
So where was he going with it?
Where was he going?
See, this is another thing that doesn't bother me in the least, but it bothers you guys.
No, this doesn't. It doesn't, because you know what? Dom's making a plan on the fly, so it's not a great plan.
It's not a great plan
because he doesn't know what he's doing.
I'm so curious what he was going to do.
But Momoa's plan.
I've said this to you before about the 10 other movies, right? There are times when Dom has his back up against the wall, and he just drives off a cliff. And, like, he ends up being fine. Sometimes he drives off a cliff and he just, like, he somehow rolls in the car and it's fine. Or, like, in 9, there's the one where he drives off the cliff and he, like, hits the rope and the rope latches on the tire and it swings, right? So, like, sometimes it's like it comes together and sometimes it's just, like, he just manages to survive. But either way, I look at the options and I go, you didn't have a plan. You chose death, right? like you chose death, and you just happened to have survived.
Momoa's plan at the beginning, they're like, the backup plan for Dom was if we get it in the water, it'll blow up, and it'll be 10 times smaller.
Yes.
Momoa, when the bomb goes off, when it's underwater, is standing on a hilltop watching it, and the blast thing hits him. It doesn't hurt him, but it hits him.
Right.
Now, if it had been 10 times stronger,
right.
he'd be dead.
Right.
And Dom got that ball of a bomb into the water with a fraction of a second left using a crane that there is no way Momoa saw coming. There's no way Momoa was like, I'll bet that he launches his car into this crane, spins it around, and uses that to foosball the ball into the water in time.
The other impressive thing about Momoa's plan was how he staked out all those high places.
Oh yeah,
he did have a high place
everywhere. He had a perch. He had a perch where he could oversee the whole thing.
You know, I bet in that one Fast movie where they were in the cemetery and he was looking on. I bet Momoa was on an even higher place, looking down on him then.
Even Cena's secret.
Yeah, that was
cave.
6.
Was that 6?
Yeah, so that would have been after the safe and the So they're all at the funeral. Wait, was that Han's funeral? No, that was Letty.
It was Grumpy Pants' third funeral.
It was Grumpy Pants' fake funeral, and but everyone was there. But then Dom was looking at it from a hilltop.
That would have been 4. That was before.
Oh, okay.
That was before.
Then somebody else
Momoa
was looking at Dom from a higher hilltop.
Yeah.
And I just figured Jason Momoa
was on that
he's been there the whole time.
Higher hilltop.
I asked Greg and Sean this while you were in the bathroom right after the theater. What the hell was Dom doing in that police station? He said, I'll get some answers there. But he already knew who Jason Momoa was and what he was after. There were no answers to get.
I think that he expected to find Momoa's team actively working out of that police station instead of just a weird bunch of video screens as if it was a Saw-like trap for Dom.
Bunch of video screens showing previous shots from previous movies.
Yeah.
One of those shots was from 9 where they were in that cabin off the grid. I was like, was Momoa there taking pictures?
No, he's got drones flying around.
Did you just rent that movie?
When they were in Dom's thing in his garage in the very beginning, the first scene, he just had pictures up on the wall, and I was like, those look like pictures from movies.
Those are still shots from movies.
Those aren't. Was there somebody with a camera?
And
it's like a picture of them secretly plotting a thing. Who comes in? It's oh, we're doing the plot for the heist. Let me just take some random.
What do you call it? Mama. Remember in the baby mama's apartment or whatever, they had that picture of her, but it wasn't a picture of her smiling for the camera. It was this. Mid-candid shot.
I think
that was.
I think it was.
And hung up on the wall.
I think it was the picture in the file that The Rock got, where he's
God,
her,
really?
I'll take her. Yeah, remember?
Oh my God,
where he's
really?
he goes, find me an interpreter, and then he's like, I'll take her. I like her smile. I think it was that picture.
Oh, amazing. I also had I was just amazed by that. The screen room in the beginning where he walked in and talked to the agency higher ups that were all in the shadows, and it's just this big stupid room that's got just a bunch of floating screens everywhere. What was the purpose of this room? Who built it? Where and why?
I don't know. I love that scene though because it was the whole history of the Fast and the Furious.
Right?
I like how he was they went from boosting DVD VCR combos to
it's our
oil
exposition
heists.
room.
Yeah.
Let's go to the exposition room. It's got screens everywhere, and then we're going to have these shadowy figures vote on whether or not I'm allowed to kill people.
Yeah, it was amazing. That was an amazing room and an amazing sequence.
Kurt Russell's going to come back, right? Because they kept showing pictures of him, and he's in hiding. He's totally Nick Fury.
I was paying a lot closer attention to that this time. Yeah, they kept saying he disappeared, he's in the wind. And then I think because Dom told Helen Mirren to get a message to Mr. Nobody. I think he's gonna somehow be the ace in the hole for the next movie.
Mr. Nobody?
Mr. Nobody is Kurt Russell.
So okay, that's what I thought, sort of. But then I also kind of thought Mr. Nobody was that guy that was on their team at the beginning.
That guy is Little Nobody.
Little Nobody is partner or his kid? I can't.
No, he's the protege. I guess.
He's like Nick Fury in training.
So I don't know how much you want me to tell you, but in the 8th movie, Mr. Nobody sends them on a mission, and he puts his protege Little Nobody on the team. And a lot of people didn't like this because they felt like Little Nobody was like a Paul Walker replacement. I didn't really feel that way.
Oh god, I didn't pick up on that at all.
Yeah, like he was kind of the butt of the joke in all of the scenes because they're all calling him Little Nobody and they're making fun of him. So I thought he was like a fun addition, and I liked him coming back. I thought that was a thing that was sort of left dangling. Like,
oh yeah,
he's
fine. You'll never see him again.
Yeah, well, they said with Little Nobody out of commission and Mr. Nobody in the Wind that puts Alan Ritchson, Aquaman, OG Aquaman, whatever, in charge of the agency. I kind of wanted, I don't know, I wanted some explanation of why Little Nobody was out of commission.
Yeah, let's get some clarification on that.
I mean, he did barely jump out of a truck that blew up, but it did seem like he rolled pretty good. Like, I don't know.
It didn't seem like a death scene to me.
I mean,
it was not a death scene.
I mean, I assumed that they all thought that he was working with Dom, that he was one of the terrorists, but, like, he wasn't in that black site prison. Like,
Not that we saw.
I was happy to see him back in the movie, but I felt like that was left unexplained.
I can't wait to see how they explain Gal Gadot being alive for all this time. That's going to be very interesting.
Part of me's like, is Mr. Nobody just down in that submarine? Like,
yeah,
driving
he's
the sub?
driving.
Like, because obviously he's the answer why she's still alive. Like,
it's got to be, because he was the answer as to why Han was
he's
still alive.
He's the only explanation when somebody comes back to life.
All right. So, this being my first Fast and Furious movie, I pointed this out to Kris in the theater, I think, but this being my first Fast and Furious movie, there was a moment, if you were listening to this prior to seeing it, it's about 20 minutes before the end when the little B is in or B or whatever they call the kid. He's in a car and he makes a face as his dad launches a car, and his face is one of guffaw. Is that it? It's like, huh? And he's looking up at like just he's got this great. The kid's a great actor because he's got the right face for what is going on at that moment. A car is flying through the air, dragging 2 helicopters. But it occurred to me in that moment that is the face I should be making the whole time I watch this movie. It's the face we should all be making. Just kind of, huh? And push back into your seat at the same time.
What?
Kind of stupid, but also really intense. It's intense, stupefying. That's what it is.
We should talk about Little B for a moment.
That kid got big.
Yeah.
Time makes fools of us all.
Little B's name is Brian. Brian is also the character Paul Walker played. So after that actor's death and the revelation that Little B exists, when Dom got to name this kid, he named him Brian after his buddy, who is alive in this world but dead in real life.
Yeah, so the actor died, and so they just had him drive off into the sunset. Although, like, he's married to Dom's sister.
And they have 2 kids.
Yeah.
They have 2 kids. I don't know where those kids were.
It just doesn't come up.
Yeah, I wanna get back to that. But with Little B and with John Cena, I thought that subplot was great. Yeah. I loved it. I loved that they paired John Cena up with this little kid.
That was a good time.
I also loved that John Cena got to be funny in this movie.
Yeah,
because in F9 he did not get to be funny.
No, he didn't.
And I think John Cena is funny.
Oh, I agree. I've seen him in a couple things where he has got comedy chops, as it were.
Yeah,
Peacemaker.
Oh,
phenomenal.
It's a little weird that the character makes a complete 180, but
oh my god, he's just full on good guy. No.
I think
he was a villain in his movie.
Of course he was. Why not?
I think in F9, I think they told him, you're supposed to be Dom's brother. You need to act like Dom. Like, I think that's why he's so, like, serious in this movie.
Looks nothing like him.
I know.
This is such weird casting as his blood brother. Like, you two look nothing alike at all.
You're both pretty big, I guess. But that's...
All right. Now I'm going to get to the other thing that's on my mind, which
where'd Jason Statham go?
Well, I could have used more Statham in this movie.
God, me too.
I could have used at least one more Statham scene.
He shows up and kicks some ass, and he's like, "All right, fine, take some planes. I'm gonna go find my mom. Peace."
No, he said, "I'm gonna go dig some graves."
Go dig some graves.
It was amazing.
I like to think he meant that literally. Like he wasn't going to a fight. He was like, I've got to go dig a lot of holes in preparation for the next movie.
Governor, you see all these expendable men that died? I'm going to dig all these graves.
Give me Hobbs and Shaw 2 as like the midway point between Fast X and Fast Double X.
Yeah, maybe in the next movie, maybe it will be like a Hobbs and Shaw 2.
I hope so. That movie was fun.
I don't know. Well, so do you know? I mean, Kris, do you know what I'm gonna say? I think my big beef with this was
no clue.
Really?
I have no idea.
Oh man,
they didn't say family enough.
were you counting?
I
count
20.
Yeah, once I broke 20 and we were like a third of the way in the movie,
Yes.
maybe I was like, we had joked at the beginning. We were like, how many times is the minimum number of acceptable times for them to say family? And I think we were shooting for 10, but they blew that out like 7-8 minutes in.
It was funny too because I clocked that because in the first like half hour of the movie, you guys were laughing a lot. You were like family, and then by like 20 minutes later, you were like, oh Jesus, we get it, family.
I know.
So
what's your beef?
So, I was hyper aware of it going into this, having seen it a couple days ago. This time around, I don't know if it bothered me as much, but the first time seeing it, I really felt like the absence of Paul Walker was weird. Like I know he's dead, right? Like I know he can't be there. The actor is dead, but like in Fate of the Furious, the 8th one, it didn't bother me at all. Like I felt like that was the perfect movie to follow the one after his death that made you invest in the movie and not go, where is this guy? Like I feel like
I agree.
The logic is not always amazing, but like the logic in that was sound enough for me to go, I'm on board with this. F9, I felt like I missed him a little bit. I felt like like maybe we could have had some like scenes of like CGI Paul Walker watching the kids. Like that might have been funny.
The whole thing was the reason they gave that Brian didn't come back and do more of this stuff was because he needed to be a dad for his kids.
Right.
But then they gave Vin Diesel a kid, and he's just like, fuck it, I'm in.
Yeah, I know, right?
So, like, yeah, it especially in this one, when it's going so specifically, like, his family, like, his actual family is showing up, and, like, Paul Walker's just nowhere to be found.
It was
just
weird.
Recast the dude.
Yeah.
Like, we got Don Cheadle as War Machine. You can totally recast this guy.
Here's another thing that I think makes it harder to swallow, and Sean and Greg don't know this, but I'm gonna spoil the shit out of it for you, right? So like,
you realize we're watching these in reverse order, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to literally
spoil
spoil everything.
Oh, yeah, I know, right? When they kind of retcon the beginning of that movie and they throw Momoa in there, around the stuff that actually happened, if you never saw it, they kind of make it look like Paul Walker was like exempt from what happened, right? That like, so they steal the safe. Dom and Brian both steal the safe. The Rock charges through the wall with the ATV. Dom and Brian pull up, they hook up the safe, and then they drag it all over the city, right? Then kind of what you don't see in this flashback is the police on their tail, a big chase through the streets. At one point, Roman and Han show up in cop cars and kind of like run interference and get the cops off their car, so that something else can happen, which they don't show you till the after this sequence of the movie, and then they get to the big showdown on the bridge, and it's like, Vin tells Paul Walker, disengage. He's like, I'm not gonna leave you, and he's like, this was always the plan. You got a family, and like cuts him loose, right? And then it makes it look like Vin goes back and wipes all those guys out until The Rock comes out and shoots Hernan Reyes, right? What they don't show you is Paul Walker doubles around and comes back and takes a guy out that was gonna shoot Vin Diesel, and he's like Vin Diesel's like, you came back, and Paul Walker's like, I made a call, right? And like, which is a callback to something earlier in the movie, right? What they show you later on right? Because then what happens is The Rock gives them a... He's the law. He's supposed to bring those guys in. He gives them a 24-hour head start. So he opens up the safe and finds that it's empty, because what happened was, in the 10-second window they were bought, they went over an underpass, and Gal Gadot was there in a garbage truck and switched the safes, right? So, they escaped with all this money, right? But, like, what I'm getting at is, when he says, hey, I'm Paul Walker, I'm going to cut you loose, there's no reason to do that. They both could have cut loose. They had the money, right? Like, he didn't need to go back. They could have just left the safe there and drove away, right? That's one thing. Second thing is, Paul Walker comes back. He's right next to them the whole time. Like, this guy, they purposely bring up a villain that is tied to the villain 5 movies ago, right? He would be after Vin Diesel and Paul Walker.
Absolutely.
They were a team. They were together on this
Here's
thing.
my prediction. In the second or third, whatever, however many of these are going to be, this finale, Paul Walker's back. I mentioned earlier, like, being dead doesn't stop you from putting out a movie anymore. Right? Like, what was it?
Tupac has had like 10 more albums.
Brandon Lee showed up in, like, they finished that movie after he was dead. There's like 3 or 4 scenes he CGI'd. That movie came out in 92? 93?
They're going to go full-on Rogue One Governor Tarkin on him.
They're just going to make it. It's just going to be completely AI. One too many fingers and a couple shots, but other than that, it's going to be great.
I think they will CGI him at some point. So when I watched it on Wednesday, and then when I was watching it again today, I was kind of paying attention to this, because I was kind of like, you give us all this Paul Walker in this flashback at the beginning of the movie, and you set up this villain who's kind of tied to both of them, right? And then I was like, and then you leave us without Paul Walker and with like no explanation, right? Like where is his kids? Why is Mia watching the nephew and not her own kids? Like, doesn't make any sense. And I was kind of like, when they're showing all those pictures in the beginning, and we're in Dom's garage, and there's all this memorabilia and stuff like that, like, that was probably the time to, like, have the emotional punch of him, right? And, like, instead, they bring in this new character of the grandmother, played by Rita Moreno.
That was a new character?
That was a new character.
I've never seen her before.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I have to, like, watching it again, I have to think that they didn't blow their load on that because they're saving it for the very end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
if they want the emotional
that's how
gut punch of Paul Walker, they're
out.
going to do it at the end and not the beginning of the end.
He's going to come in and take out Momoa. Jeez. Didn't see that coming.
It's weird that he's not... It's weird that they don't have a better explanation of where he is.
I mean, they really should have killed the character off. Like, I think that's the only way to get around that. Like, he's too... Plot-wise, he's too linked to this entire situation to not be involved.
And I think they're doing a disservice to Jordana Brewster, who plays Mia, for this whole thing, right? Because what I think should have happened, right? Like, so, like, that scene was great where all those guys are coming into the house, and her and John Cena are, like, punching people through walls and, like, stuff like that.
He threw a man through a floor.
Yeah.
He did. Right through it. You shouldn't be able to do that.
I don't think the physics work out.
I mean, Vin Diesel picked up a car with one arm. So
He sure did.
He that's not the first time he's done that. He's picked up a car before.
The one-arm car lift.
Yeah.
Well, he used 2 arms, I think, previously. But he wasn't just lifting a car on its side. He was picking it up. Because that's what he does, apparently.
I can't wait.
I think they should have said Paul Walker and his kids are safe, and that, like, Mia also needed to go with Jacob, like put her in that
Right,
meat blood, because also she's his brother, and like we haven't seen that relationship.
Not much, besides a couple of hugs.
Yeah, I think they gave her
She's
the.
whose brother?
She is Dom's and John Cena's sister. There's three of them. 3 Toretto kids.
and then way back in the first movie, she runs a sandwich shop.
Yeah.
That never gets revisited again. Never again.
It's actually where this all comes from. Like, Dom and Paul Walker got into a fight over a sandwich.
Or a tuna sandwich.
That's where it all comes from. Goodness gracious.
My sister's shop. You shut your mouth.
Yeah, the Paul Walker thing, I think, is becoming more and more problematic. But seeing it again, I kind of am like, maybe they did this okay.
It didn't bother me too much while we watched. I mean, it obviously raised a lot of questions, but no more than half the other shit that happens in this movie.
Yeah. There's a lot of other stuff I liked about it. I really liked the job in Rome, that they let Roman lead the job. Like, I liked seeing what that was if Roman was the leader. And then he was like, I need laughing gas and an RC car and a gold Lamborghini. Like, I liked, I like seeing, like, what that was like. I also liked that kind of paid off with that moment with Roman and Tej about, like, what it means to be a leader or whatever. Mm-hmm. I just felt like the scene in the middle with the muffins and the fight was so strange, because, like, obviously,
so many reasons.
Yeah, they needed to have a disagreement before they could reconcile at the end, and it felt like a scene where there was no stakes, mm-hmm. like those guys are always busting each other's chops, like that's their MO since the very beginning. So I think they wanted to show you it escalate in order to show them have a real emotional moment at the end. And I think just because of the way their relationship works and how weird that fight was, I felt like it didn't really gel for me.
It was a great fight scene, though. Not so much when Han and him were fighting, but the ensuing one.
I think
the other guys.
I think they threw that weird dust just so that they could what did they call him? A ghetto magician or something like that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What was... So, like... Why did he have all that cash strapped to him?
So there was a callback to movie 2, where they
I remember him stuffing a bunch of stuff in his pants and whatnot, but, like... Was the insinuation that he just always walks around with lots of cash strapped to him?
I think so. Like that's just what he does. Like he never knows when the cash is going to run out, so he's just always got it strapped to him.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
And then when they went into the computer place, they wanted to buy weapons and transportation, which I assumed meant cars.
Yeah, so one of the things this movie was... Well, it wasn't really missing because Statham had it, but usually in every movie there's a giant warehouse with cars where they make a plan.
Right.
Like where they all get to meet together and make a plan, surrounded by cars.
So he was trying to buy that, and he handed the guy a $100 bill. And I get that it was a joke. Then he handed the guy $200. And I get that it was still part of this joke, but at the same time it's like... He drives really... Like, he was just driving a gold Lamborghini. He understands that $100... and like, he looked like he was going to do this $100 at a time to try to get a good deal. And at first I thought it was a joke, and then I was like, no, he really wants to try to do it this way. And that's why the other guy gets mad at him. I'm like, he knows gold Lamborghinis cost a lot more than $200, right?
I think he also knew he was going to wreck the shit out of that gold Lamborghini. I need the most expensive car that I could fuck up.
Wasn't the whole point of the gold Lamborghini that it was shiny so that he could, like, reflect sunlight off in that one scene? Like,
that was
how could he have possibly planned that?
That was the plan. It was to drive the little RC car underneath, pump in the laughing gas, which don't ask me how that RC car had all that laughing gas. And then, to blind them with the gold Lamborghini so that the other two could jump on the roof. It was a solid plan.
Oh, it was great.
It was a Roman plan.
I am back to what we were saying kind of about Paul Walker. I am really glad that The Rock showed up because that was the absence that I was feeling most of all. Even more than Paul Walker. I was like, it doesn't make much sense that this is a character that is established in this franchise that's just not involved right now.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad they showed up. But, like, did that scene take place, like, at the beginning? Like, was that...
That's a great question. I don't know.
It was like Jason Momoa making the same phone call he did to Dom. Did that happen around the same time? Like, Is the next part going to be like all leading up to that? How is Vin Diesel going to survive the dam blowing up? And also, how is Vin Diesel going to survive that dam blowing up?
I don't know.
I'm very curious to see how that pans out. I'm sure he's got a plan, but he doesn't have a car.
You know, it was a weird move. As the missile's coming at the plane and they see it, he runs in the back and he goes, "Get down." Get down? You're a fucking plane about to be shot by a missile. What? What is?
Yeah, I mean they're obviously all fine, but
because they jumped in a car and drove it out.
Well, I also think
Really?
I think this is the reason why they haven't killed off Paul Walker's character, because like
who would believe it?
Yeah, I know. I know that the actor is actually dead, but in these movies, killing a character off means nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else has come back, so if they
really didn't want to use him, so they didn't kill him. If they want him back, they got to kill him.
I'm just saying, if they make it a plot point that someone kills him off screen, no one will believe it.
I mean, like all they have to do is be like, "Boy, it sure was a shame when Brian got cancer, huh?" Like,
yeah.
that was real hard to watch, and then have a big emotional scene about how he died and it was sad, but they're all moving on with their lives.
All the car chases and bam, cancer.
Son of a bitch.
Walks out into the street and bam, melanoma.
They did have some fun callbacks, like when they got to the race sequence, there was just close-ups of lots of asses. And then, like right at the end, when they did the nitrous boost, they did the whole Fast Furious 1 thing where they go into the engine like that. I was like, that was a nice visual callback.
We never talked about this, Chris. All these movies that you watch 15 minutes at a time, and we never talked about all the butts.
Oh yeah,
So many butts in these
There's
movies.
a lot of butts.
It seemed like a lot of butts at the time. I didn't know it was a callback, but this had a long run time. What, 2 hours 20 minutes?
Yeah.
The scene with the muffin was kind of funny, but we could have just lost it. It didn't matter. And then a lot of those scenes, I was like, you could have edited this down. I get establishing shots, but I get
this is a thing.
But it was a lot of butts. And then there was just some bird's eye view dance sequence shots.
That's just the thing they do in these movies. That just happens a lot. Yeah.
It's been toned down since the beginning. Like
All right, because
first and second movie were just all butts.
10 seconds.
First, second, and third.
10 seconds of butts and dancing. I get it. We're establishing street race party. Gotcha. I'm on board. But it went on for a long time.
I think because
like
that
30
was the
seconds
one
of that,
race
like-
scene, they really had to overdo it with the butts to catch up.
All right.
But speaking of overdoing things, how about that Jason Momoa? Huh? He was fun to watch.
I was just gonna say that. Like, what do you think, Chris? Where does this land in Fast and Furious villains?
I mean, as far as villains go, he was definitely most entertaining.
Yeah.
Like, by far. I mean, I've never really enjoyed Charlize Theron. Like, she was a good villainess, and she was just like pure evil. But she was never like all that charismatic or anything. She didn't really seem like a match for Dom or anything like that. She was just like super smart and rich as hell and awful. See what the other villains have just been like drug lords, right? Like nobody even memorable.
I mean, now with this one, you've got three former villains, who are different levels of either now friends or frenemies or whatever, anti-heroes. You got Statham,
right?
You got Charlize, and you got
John Cena. Yeah, no, as far as villains go, Jason Momoa is by far the most fun to watch, I think, as a villain.
Yeah, he's amazing.
So there was one or two scenes, and I can't remember what they were now. I'd have to go back and look at them, where I felt like, I don't know if it was bad acting on Jason Momoa's part, or, I don't know. Like, there were some scenes where I really loved it. The scene where he's painting the guy's nails.
Yeah.
That was so over the top and crazy. You were like, yes, he is a sociopath. I get it. You're nailing it. It's over the top, and it's fun to watch. You're establishing the bad guy, nailing it. But then, like, one or two of the other scenes, like, he delivered his lines in such a way I was like, I don't know if he didn't go big enough. I know that sounds weird, but you know that's what it is. He didn't go big enough in one or two scenes, and I'm like, you've already established that this character is way over the top, so you can't just phone in a. You can't just go moderate evil on one scene. You've dialed it up to 11. You're gonna fall back to a 7 out of nowhere for an in between scene? No.
Yeah, he's very much the Joker, and every now and then he just kind of pulled it back to like Joker light, like Harley Quinn or something. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. There was a couple scenes that I felt like he didn't bring it enough to match the scene I just saw. And it was like, it felt awkward.
Still, his wardrobe was
just
nailed it.
I thought Momoa was great. I wouldn't have had him play it any different. But I did clock the fact that his father had a thick Hispanic accent. Mm-hmm. And he sounded
for a movie that has a lot to do with family, they really do not pay attention to like actual like
biology.
Biological family connections don't seem to make a lot of sense here, because we are talking about the movie where Vin Diesel and John Cena are just brothers.
And like, I kind of got the vibe that maybe they were like stepbrothers, like that maybe they shared.
I thought that's what you were going to tell me,
but like
half brothers, and I'd be like, sure.
half brothers. Right? I guess not stepbrothers, half brothers. But like, they've never explained what that is. We've never gotten a peek of what their childhood was, really.
Oh, I also, in the next movie, we're going to find out Stallone is their father.
Yes.
He'll be here.
Pile it on, please.
Now, if you're watching them in reverse order, you will see their father in the next movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
They have a flashback, or the previous movie.
And do we see the mother?
No.
Because I'll tell you what, Grandma's too short to be the biological
grandma
of John Cena.
But she's supposed to be, I think.
She's supposed to be what? The biological grandmother?
Yeah, like, the way I understand the flashback in... The way I understand the flashback in 9 is that Dom and Jacob share the same father. Do you understand it the same way, Kris? Jack Toretto is their father?
Yes, that's their dad.
And Rita Moreno was supposed to be Jack Toretto's mother, because she says, your father, if he was still here, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, right.
So she is also supposed to be John Cena's grandmother.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they had different moms. I don't know. I don't care. This whole franchise is fucking ridiculous. I'm glad
but it's so good, right? It's so good.
It is so fun. I'm so glad I've watched all these. This has been a blast, but I can't wait to see what happens next.
Yeah, 2 more years. Endgame. Fast and Furious
2
Endgame.
years?
I think so. I think it's
freaking insane. You know what?
Oh, it might be next summer. I don't know.
When they're doing these multi-part movies, I think they got to put them closer together. Why are they waiting so long in between?
I don't know.
Like, you filmed them at the same time.
2025.
2025? Like, don't they usually film them at the same time? Like, it's already filmed?
Well,
what a shitload of fuck.
I got some bad news for you. I mean, you know, the next one might be brilliant, or it might be a little rough. I don't know. I'm skeptical of how much of it was written and planned when they wrote this, because I don't think that The Rock was on board with this until after the movie was shot.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that was just tacked on at the end.
I think he saw the finished movie and the director said, I really want you to come back for this thing, and that the movie is what sold him on returning. I don't think... at least that's kind of the story I heard. I also have to tell you guys that I did see that spoiler before I went to see this. Like, I saw that The Rock was in that.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, and it made me excited to see it. Like, I was so excited that The Rock was coming back, and it made me more, have a little more faith in the movie before going to see it. Mm-hmm. But, I am kind of upset that was robbed for me. That, I didn't get to experience that in the theater. So I was happy that I got to see you experience it.
Yeah, that was pretty neat. I had Tony Stark, Iron Man snap, and then dying. I had that spoiled for me ahead of time.
Oh,
that was brutal.
That hurts. We should just put out fake spoilers all over the internet for everything.
Yeah.
And then no one will know what's real anymore.
It was awful because it was on something. It was in a comment thread for something completely unrelated to Avengers or anything. It was just someone had the video of him doing the snap, and like they were just posting it in random comment threads, totally unrelated to Marvel, just to be a dick.
Ugh. Somebody's listening to this right now, going, "Tony Stark dies."
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
I believe Darth Vader's Luke's father.
Yeah, I'm glad that the Gal Gadot thing wasn't spoiled for me, but the Rock thing was.
I'm curious in watching them in reverse order if I'll get to the beginning and then be angry, because I found myself multiple times giving this movie a lot of rope, just assuming this was pre-established. Did we talk about that? Was that on the ride home? You mentioned about that room with the computers.
Yeah.
And that was like voting.
Yeah, and you had said that you thought that was a pre-established thing.
I just assumed that was from an earlier time, so I was like, yeah, all right. I'm the one who came late to the party. I can't be mad that you're,
That looked like something out of like an early season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is what that looked like to me, and like, nope, that was a thing. I'm about tapped.
Yeah, I got nothing else.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think we've said our piece.
All right, so how do you rank them, Chris?
How do I rank all the Fast movies?
Yeah, how do you rank them?
No, the first one's not even in the same genre.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird, Sean. You're gonna watch these things get more and more tame until they're just about street racing.
You're asking
and boosting DVD VCR combos.
You're asking Chris that, and I still go back to Jason on The Good Place. What? I don't even know who you are. Number 4 is number 1. Number 5 is number 2. Number 3 is number 3. What are you doing? I'm ranking my Fast and Furious movies. That's the best way to get to know who I am.
I've never seen that.
Oh God! Oh, you haven't watched The Good? You should watch The Good Place.
That's
man.
good.
That's just great. Oh God, I don't even know where to begin on how to rank these things. They're so weird. Like, Tokyo Drift was terrible, but like,
it's not the bottom of the list for me.
that potato head dude pretending to be a high school student. That movie was bananas. Fast 2, I barely remember. That was where you find out that Paul Walker and Tyrese were old friends.
Yep.
And that was the first one Tyrese was in, because he was like the Vin Diesel replacement, because Vin Diesel's not in the second one.
And Ludacris was in that one.
Ludacris was in that one too. It's a very different character.
Yeah, he had big hair.
Yeah, big hair. He was just kind of like this dude who ran a street racing thing.
Yeah, but they addressed that in 5. He goes, "I had a whole life before you met me."
Yeah. Uh-huh. That's what you want to call addressing it.
Dude, 5 is amazing.
Just gloss right over. It just doesn't make any goddamn sense. I remember 1 was like a pretty decent movie, I guess. Like, it was exactly what it's exactly what I thought Fast and the Furious was. Mm-hmm. So it's like it was fine. It's not really the kind of thing I want to watch more of than I did. I don't remember enough. I don't remember how to differentiate the rest of the movies enough. All I know is my favorite sequence has been when they drove the car out of one building and into another.
That was 7.
I absolutely loved that sequence. I loved the magnet thing. That made no goddamn sense. Drive around with this fucking magnet. And like, kind of similar to in Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, where it's like, alright, this magnet's going to suck all kinds of stuff into it, except the things we don't want it to. It's inside of a metal vehicle.
But
why is that?
Crush the metal vehicle.
Doesn't crush the metal. It tracks things to the metal vehicle. It doesn't fucking matter, because it's an amazing action sequence. It rains cars. That was fantastic.
That was 8. I think.
And I also really liked the safe, because that again, that just would have torn all of the cars to shreds. It didn't make any sense.
So watching them 15 minutes at a time, you can't.
I have a hard time
see them as one piece.
Yeah, I can't see them, especially the later ones. Like the first 3 are very distinct movies in my head.
Yeah.
And then after that, they all really kind of blur together. I can't even remember the details of how they killed off Wonder Woman. I have no idea how to rank them.
She fell out of the plane.
She fell out of the plane.
They were trying to bring down that plane.
I remember they were trying to bring down the plane.
Yeah.
It was a big plane, and she fell out of something. and then she was dead. Apparently. That was a really non-convincing death. So, like, the only reason I'm surprised she's still alive is because, like, where the hell's she been?
Right.
And I'm sure she's been doing some crazy covert stuff. Just like, I don't know.
So...
I can't rank them. I'm sorry. I'm incapable.
I think for me... So now, with the 10 movies, and with Hobbs and Shaw, that makes 11 movies.
Uh-huh.
So this is good because there has to be a middle, right? Like 5 movies,
right.
A middle, and then 5 movies.
Right,
that makes an actual middle.
Into that.
So for me, 9 has to be right in the middle because I can't tell if it's amazing or awful. Like, it could literally be the best movie that was ever made or the worst movie, and I cannot tell. Like, the magnets, the go into space...
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, is that the best, or is it, like, just like you said...
There's definitely some shark jumping.
Yeah, when the line is made out of sharks, how do you know if you jumped the shark? So I think that has to be in the middle, because I can't tell if it belongs at the end or at the, at the beginning or the end. So it has to go in the middle. Mm-hmm. So I think for me, they go 2.
2's at the bottom, huh?
Uh-huh, right. Yeah. 2.
That's respectable.
4... 8, 6.
Who do we appreciate?
Tokyo Drift. 9, right? Because that's right in the middle. Mm-hmm. And then it would go. I
can't even keep track.
Oh, then this. I guess this one. Then this one.
10.
10. 1. Hobbs and Shaw. 7-5.
Okay.
So 5 and
I'm
7
impressed that you were able to keep track of all that in your head without writing them down.
I
don't even think I could do that with Star Wars movies. I have to have them in front of me to look.
I think 5's the best, and then I think 5 is the best. I think 5 is a legitimately good movie.
Fast 5 was called Fast 5, right?
Yeah.
And then it was Furious 6.
I think it was Fast 5 and then Fast and Furious 6 and then Furious 7.
What the hell?
Yeah. Yeah, I think 5 is a legitimately good movie. I think 7, the first time I watched it, I was real caught up in the morbidity of it being Paul Walker's last movie and which was really him and which was a CGI him. And
I didn't notice it at all.
I notice it. I feel like I notice it when I'm looking for it. Like, I think that a lot of the stuff when they're driving the car around in the building, like, I think that's really him a lot of the time. I think he's definitely in the beginning when they're parachuting out of the plane. There's that one scene in the beginning where like they blow up the house and he gets like slammed against the car door. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's him because they like clearly don't show his face. Then there's another one where Mia comes in and talks to him and like the camera goes all the way around him, and I think that was like, look how cool our CGI Paul Walker is, And then like when they go to Abu Dhabi, was it Abu Dhabi like he's not there, like he's always like off to the side of the group and like he kind of like smile, you know what I mean? Like like I can sort of tell when he's there and when he's not, but like I think they made him look so good because they had his brother as a stand-in and then they digitized the brother so that you could see where all the light would go and stuff like that before they used the footage of him. And then they must have had countless footage of him from other movies in cars. Just in the driver's seat of cars, reacting and doing stuff. Like, I think that's why it's so seamless in that movie. But yeah, when I think about some of the big set pieces that I like so much, the like parachuting out of cars, the jumping from one building to the other, it's all in 7. And then I was like, yeah, 7 was pretty good.
7 was a lot of fun. This whole experience has been a lot of fun, but it's time for us to wrap this business up. Word. So what's the name of our next movie again? Young Sherlock?
Young Einstein.
Young
Sherlock Holmes was what I thought about. It's a good movie. Yeah. It's worth the watch.
It's a different movie.
It's a very different movie.
Isn't that a TV show?
Young Einstein.
You
know what's
Young Sherlock Holmes was a movie. There might also be a TV show.
After we, who's the guy in
Yahoo Serious?
Yahoo Serious. Okay, I did get that right. As soon as we finished recording, I went upstairs and I said to Karen, so they went with a movie I've never heard of called Young Einstein. She was like, oh, Yahoo Serious. I was like, you know this movie? She's like, yeah.
To which I would have said,
he only made like 3
movies. Who the fuck is Yahoo Serious?
I only know Yahoo Serious from references to him by Mystery Science Theater.
Right, yeah, no, like 1990, I'm going to guess 1. He was the man for like a month and a half.
Wow.
And we're going to revisit that time.
We are.
Looking forward to it. Should be a blast. Well, this was a fun little bonus episode. I have no idea how soon I'm going to be able to get this edited and put up, but there's really not much editing to do. I'll just slap some stuff on it and
you got 2 years before Fast X 2 comes out.
Yeah, so. There we go. Fast Double X. God, Triple X was a stupid movie.
Kareen would like to talk to you about that, but that's for another time.
Yeah.
Fare thee well.
Good night, everybody. Night. Thanks for Spiel Geekade podcast. Check out our Patreon. I could go look at the script, but I'm not gonna. I'm really tired. Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Family.
Family.